We've got some breaking news on the son of Trump's would-be assassin. This story gets weirder and weirder and weirder, and we're going to give you all the details in a sec. Plus, the border continues to loom as a huge issue for voters in this country, especially in swing states. Just wait till you hear what a Pennsylvania voter told MSNBC to make their heads explode. It's all about immigration, my friends. And Kamala Harris hates Catholics so much that she's refusing to go to a historic fundraising dinner. And we're going to explain exactly why she's not going to do it and why it's actually really bad for our country. That's all coming up right now. I'm Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. You are right, Carl. You're right on both counts. I am great. I'm a little late. Sometimes we're a little late, but that's all right. Better to have me 5 minutes late than never at all, I think. That's what my wife says. I'm Larry O'Connor. Thanks for tuning in here to our live stream. We're on YouTube and Rumble and X and Facebook, and I don't know where the hell we are at this point. Honestly, we could be on MSNBC for all I know. Finally, they get some viewers, right? Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing and sharing our videos. Boy, you took it to heart yesterday. You shared one of our videos up the wazooly. Really great one on Megyn Kelly, and we appreciated that. Do more of that because it helps. It helps keep our audience growing, and we need to get the word out because we got an election to win, my friends, big time. Quick follow-up on yesterday's expose on the Justice Department's completely irrational and dangerous decision to release that manifesto written by allegedly written by the would-be assassin of Donald Trump. I mean, even Bill Barr, the former Attorney General, has come out and chastised the Justice Department for doing that. And as if that story hasn't gotten strange enough, here's today's revelation. Explain this to me if you could. The son of this would-be assassin, Ryan Routh, has now been arrested for child pornography. This guy apparently is peddling in kitty smut. Ryan Routh had hundreds of files of illicit photographs of minors, according to prosecutors. And of course, he probably wasn't even on anybody's radar or being investigated until his father attempted to assassinate President Trump. We think. What's going on here? A little bit of the article. The son of Ryan Routh, man arrested in connection with the second apparent assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump, has been taken into custody on federal charges of possession of child pornography. Investigators say they discovered hundreds of files with child pornography during a speech in during a search in Ryan Routh's residence on Saturday, conducted in connection with an investigation unrelated to child exploitation. In other words, it was probably a search related to his father's arrest, right? So they're going to investigate all the people that are connected to his father. Maybe there was some piece of evidence that connected his son to this plot. So they go and search the son's house, and then they find all this child smut. That could be it. Or there could be another reason that this is coming out too. I'll float an idea your way coming up in a minute. But if you're sitting there thinking, wait a minute, the son of this guy, why does that sound familiar? Why do we already know something about Ryan Routh's son? Why is he already sort of in the front of our cranium here when we mention this assassination attempt? Well, you'll remember that within 24 hours of the arrest of this assassin, the Daily Mail had an exclusive interview with this guy. See? Son of alleged would-be assassin Ryan Wesley Routh says his dad hates Trump like all reasonable people, but he never owned a gun and wouldn't do anything bat crazy. So the Daily Mail hunts this guy down, interviews him, no vetting, no exploration, you're his son, that's enough for us. Let's plaster your opinions all over the headlines and put it out there. And of course, everybody in the universe, in the media universe that is, picks it up. And by the way, they picked up the most important thing that he said after the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. I mean, there's only one poll quote here that everyone has to blare everywhere. Newsweek got it. They did their due diligence. They saluted smartly and charged up the hill. There's the headline. Ryan Wesley Routh's son says his father hates Donald Trump. As he said, like all reasonable people. I'd show you the, look at what shows up in my my ads there. I'm shopping for some weights, maybe. I told you it was a Daily Mail exclusive, but their website is so full of ads and garbage that I'm not going to waste your time with it. Let's take a look at Newsweek, which isn't a whole lot better. Shots fired at Trump's golf course, da-da-da-da-da. Secret Service agent notice, da-da-da-da-da. Let's get down to the son. Ruth's son, Ryan Routh. Boy, if you're peddling in kitty, it's probably a fair bet that you have a first name like Orrin. Ruth's son, Ryan Routh, told the Daily Mail shortly after Sunday's shooting that his father hates Trump, quote, as every reasonable person does. And they'll just repeat it from mountaintop to mountaintop because, guy just tried to take shots at Donald Trump. But the important thing to take away is there's nothing unhinged about that. Only reasonable people hate Donald Trump. I don't like Trump either, he said. Then he said his father's not a violent person and that he was not aware of him owning a gun. Ryan Routh also said he could not believe his father would target the former president. He's my dad, and he's had a couple of traffic tickets, as far as I know. Ryan Routh said, that's crazy. I know my dad, and I love my dad, but that's nothing like him. He said he'd fallen out with his father, but described him as a great dad and a hard worker. So, of course, the son of Ryan Routh had a whole week to blast out hate speech toward Donald Trump, claimed that only reasonably people hate Donald Trump, claimed that he never owned a firearm, and that he wouldn't do anything bad, crazy. And only now, 8 days later, do we find out that character witness that the media was more than happy to repeat across all the networks and across all of the websites, that it turns out that guy is peddling in underage smut. What did it say? Thousands and thousands of pages? Was that it? Oh, hundreds. Sorry, don't want to overstate the case too much. Hundreds and hundreds of pieces of kitty smut. All right. So this is weird, right? I mean, what are the odds? What are the odds? A couple things here that just don't make any sense, and I think deserves some sort of logical exploration. First of all, the media's participation in repeating this guy's denials and my father's, he wouldn't do anything like that. He doesn't even own a gun. Wait a second. Why did nobody in the media challenge that assertion when it first came up? We didn't even put any focus on this. As we've covered this story in the last week, we haven't even mentioned the son until today, until this development, because we saw that story as the stupid distraction that it was. But what kind of distraction did it serve, actually? Because if you think about the story of the son and what he said to the media immediately following the arrest of his father on this assassination attempt, nothing makes sense. He says that his father didn't even own a gun, and yet what do we know about his father? What's the one claim to fame he has prior to his assassination attempt? That he was over in Ukraine fighting with Zelensky's army to try to kill as many Russians as he could to protect democracy as we know it in Europe, right? We know that's the one thing that he's been doing, is trying to raise money and raise an army to go over to Ukraine and fight on behalf of Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. So how does it make any sense that he doesn't have a gun? He must have had a gun at some point. What was he doing fighting the Russians? Was he running, using a bow and arrow? Do you have a spear? What was he throwing, rocks at the Russians? So why is it so shocking to his son that he doesn't even have a gun? And then as we laid out yesterday, this guy doesn't have a dollar to his name. He looks like a hobo. He looks like, one of Hunter Biden's down on his luck crack dealers. And meanwhile, somehow he can travel back and forth from Hawaii. By the way, Hawaii ain't a cheap place to live. I mean, unless he's a homeless person, which he could be, but we haven't been told one way or the other by the Justice Department. But he lives in Hawaii. He's flying back and forth from Hawaii a couple of times, including this last time, bringing him to Florida. Somewhere after he landed in Florida, he was able to obtain an AK-47, ammunition, and then whatever other tools he used, his little protective barrier that he put up. What was the source of income for that? The little box that he stashed away at this very mysterious witness in North Carolina's house had multiple phones. Where does he get the money for all the multiple phones? Who has multiple phones? I mean, I guess paranoid schizophrenics, but Also, maybe people who are working with some sort of undercover agency, some national terrorist group, perhaps. Who knows? But who else would have a bunch of burner phones? Which leads us to this latest weird development about the kitty. And I'm sorry, you guys, that we keep bleeping that, but it's because of the way text gets searched and transcripts get searched on social media plans. If you talk about that topic a lot, then no one's going to be able to see your video. So we gotta watch ourselves with it. But that material that he apparently was in possession of and led to an arrest after the FBI happened to search his home in connection with the arrest of his father. Pure speculation. And I hate it when the media speculates. But you know what? I don't have to follow network media rules. I don't have to follow cable news media rules. I mean, we're just friends here on a live stream having a conversation, right? And you come here for my opinion, not necessarily just for news that's being reported. You want to know my take on it. Well, I'll give you my take, because if you think this story sounds really, really bizarre, that suddenly 8 days after this assassination attempt, the son who first jumped out there and was, given a character deposition about what a great father his estranged father was, and throwing out all of these pejoratives against Donald Trump and suggesting that it's totally reasonable to hate Donald Trump, even up to the point of trying to assassinate him. If you think that was weird, and now suddenly he's arrested for possession of those materials, those horrific, evil materials that feds say that he has, let me just say, again, pure speculation. If federal investigators, or even local law enforcement, but really federal law enforcement and federal investigators and federal intelligence agencies want to destroy your life, if they want to intimidate you and shut you up and make your life a living hell, what better thing to use against you than child than the stuff that he is alleged to have had. And I'm not saying he didn't have it, and I'm not saying that this isn't a legitimate arrest, and I'm not saying that this isn't a completely, totally, 100% wackadoodle coincidence that the son of the guy who just tried to kill President Trump just happened to have hundreds of illicit files of children, leading to a federal arrest now on possession of those materials. I'm not saying that none of it's legit. What I am saying is that if for some reason the feds want to destroy your life and want to set you up and want to shut you up and want to make your life a living hell, this would be exactly how they do it. This would be 100% precisely how they do it. It's something else, isn't it? And as we go from day to day after these assassination attempts, when we learn all of the things that happened in the first assassination attempt, of how, wow, all these remarkable mistakes were made that led to a bullet coming that close to Donald Trump's skull. And it took forever for anybody to be fired over it. And the investigation into it, we won't really see until well after the presidential election. And then how the media and federal investigators just allowed the story to disappear just about a week and a half after it occurred, even though in any other news cycle, in any other time in American history, it would still be the dominant story that the president of the United States was almost assassinated 2 months ago. Then suddenly you get another assassination attempt, and that one was disappeared about 48 hours after the incident. We still have huge questions about what happened in the first one. We still don't know anything about that assassin that actually shot at Donald Trump. We may never know the truth about who this guy was, what motivated him. There's no paper trail. There's no social media footprint from this guy. Now we've got this one who's got a ton of social media and a ton of paper trails that all point to, well, talking points that you would see every day on MSNBC about why Donald Trump needs to be eliminated or stopped at all costs, stealing MSNBC and Democrat Party talking points. And then a week later, the Justice Department puts out that debacle yesterday that's being roundly criticized and condemned for basically buying into the would-be killer's manifesto to further amplify the fever swamp that wants to kill Donald Trump. Did you know that there was a poll taken last week? 28% of Democrats in this country don't think it would be a bad thing if Donald Trump was assassinated. And 25% aren't sure. That means over 50% of Democrats in this country either think it would be good for Trump to be assassinated or aren't quite at the point where they would say, no, that's not a good thing. And suddenly now, the day after that was done by the Justice Department, we've got this stunning development where this guy's son just happened to be randomly in possession of hundreds of pieces of kitty smut. You wanted my opinion. I think it stinks to high heaven. The story is strange. The story is weird. The story makes no sense. The story defies logic. And by the way, the behavior of everybody involved, including the investigators, don't make any sense. But just to button it up, the official line is the man who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump is still in custody. And there are huge questions about how he was able to make his plot and obtain the materials to be able to carry out his plot. And now, 8 days after his arrest, his son just happened to also be peddling in horrific, completely unrelated child pornography. And your Justice Department and your FBI is sure to get to the bottom of all of it. Oh, and by the way, the state of Florida under Governor Ron DeSantis has been investigating on their own in their simultaneous investigation with their state investigators and the federal investigators under the direction of President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Attorney General Merrick Garland refused to cooperate with state investigators from Florida under the direction of Governor Ron DeSantis. Why they wouldn't cooperate with the investigation, no one knows. Again, you could speculate about that too, but you would think that federal investigators getting into an assassination plot against a former president and the current leading candidate for president in the upcoming election just 6 weeks from today, you would think that they would welcome an all-hands-on-deck approach to the investigation, that if another entity is willing to provide resources and state investigators to this entire crime investigation, that they would welcome them and cooperate with them and work with them, but they're not. They're not. They don't want Florida investigators anywhere near this. They want to be able to keep everything tightly controlled within the confines of the FBI and the Justice Department, which I'm sure is standard operating procedure, and there's nothing fishy or suspect about it at all. Now you know the facts, and I guess we'll just wait till tomorrow for the next remarkable, extraordinary, completely unbelievable, coincidental story attached to this. We'll be here for you. It's clear that these are crazy times that we're living in right now. There's peace of mind at times like this when you have some security for our country, security for our leaders, and security for our families. But think about it. You are not financially secure if all your eggs are in one basket, right? Gold and silver are an excellent way to diversify your savings. They're a hedge against inflation. They're a physical asset that's in high demand globally from the wealthy to central banks. And through my friends at Birch Gold Group, you can own physical gold and silver in a tax-sheltered retirement account. Yeah, you can diversify an old IRA or 401k that you have right now into an IRA in gold and silver. It's one thing you can do to secure your family savings. To get more information about this, please text my name, Larry, to 989898. You'll receive a free, no-obligation info kit, and you'll learn the role precious metals play in your overall savings strategy. Again, that's Larry. Text it to 989898. They've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers. You can trust Birch Gold just like I do. Text Larry, Larry, to 989898. Do it today. Well, they say that Kamala Harris is a history-making candidate, right? I mean, after all, she's the first black woman to run for president, and the first Indian woman to run for president. And I don't know, they'll find something else about her that's history-making. They keep writing the script on her. It's fantastic. She made a little bit more history, though. She's the first presidential candidate since Walter Mondale to refuse to go to the annual Al Smith fundraising dinner in New York. This is something that presidential candidates have done, well, since the mid 80s, every 4 years. Before that, actually, they've been doing it, I think, for 60 years. I'll explain who Al Smith is and why this is so important. But first, let me throw it over to Cardinal Dolan of New York. He's the host of this dinner that hosts the presidential candidates. As you can see, here's the one with Trump and Hillary, and there's the Cardinal sitting right between them. This is always 2 weeks before the election. And well, here's Cardinal Dolan commenting today on Kamala Harris deciding to snub him, to snub Catholic charities, to snub the Catholic Church, and to snub Catholics all around the world.
We're disappointed. We were looking forward to giving the vice president an enthusiastic welcome. And we were confident that she would find this. She speaks very much about the high ideals and how it's good to get away from division and come together in unity and all. Well, that's what the Al Smith dinner is all about. We haven't given up yet. We're not used to this. We don't know how to handle it. This hasn't happened in 40 years since Walter Mondale turned down the invitation. And remember, he lost 49 out of 50 states. I don't want to say there's a direct connection there. But so we're not used to this, and we're not giving up. You know who's been a help to us, Lauren, is Senator Schumer and Governor Hochul. They both are working hard to see that they convince her to come.
So there's still a chance.
Yeah, and Senator Schumer said to me, he said, I don't think she made the decision. I think her schedulers are saying she can't make it. So we're not giving up. We hope she's here.
Yeah. Well, good luck there, Cardinal. I hope you're right, but I don't think it's going to happen. He's right. This is a very important dinner because it always happens right before the election, and it always features the Democrat and the Republican candidate, where they go up under the auspices of this very formal affair, white tie dinner, to raise money for Catholic charities. But frankly, even more important than that, to show to everyone in our nation and around the world that despite how tough this election has been, and despite all of the nasty things that have been said back and forth between the two candidates, but there are some things that are bigger and more important in this country, and they can get together, they can sit right next to each other and have a nice dinner before the election, and each of them goes up. The tradition is that they have a monologue, a comedy monologue that they say about each other, and they sort of roast each other, but all in good fun. It sends the message to everyone in this country that we're all Americans, we're all human beings, and we don't have to take all of this so seriously that if we lose the election that, this person is my bitter enemy. By the way, it's named after Al Smith, obviously. He's the former governor of the state of New York. He was the first Catholic to be nominated for president of the United States. He lost to Calvin Coolidge. And he lost, sadly, because there was rampant anti-Catholic bigotry in this country in 1924. And there still is, I think, personified by Kamala Harris and her Democrat Party. In my opinion, one of the major reasons why she didn't want to go to this is because, well, the Catholic Church represents the pro-life movement. The Catholic Church represents a movement that is anathema to her and her party's political ideology at this point. They want to be able to kill unborn babies right up until the moment of birth, in some cases even past birth. And sitting next to a cardinal, just like Hillary Clinton did, right there, as you can see, will send the message that it's okay to sit next to somebody who wants to control the woman's body and control women's reproductive rights. There's also a second reason why I think Kamala Harris snubbed the Al Smith dinner, and I'll explain that to you after you watch this quick clip. I want to show you that even in the 2016 presidential election with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and if you remember, it was a pretty tough election. It got pretty rough there, frankly, rougher than this election has gotten so far. Even those two found a way to show up at the Al Smith dinner. And remember how I told you that one of the things about this dinner is that the candidates come with sort of pre-written jokes to deliver to roast your political opponent? Well, that was the case back in 2016. And it didn't end well for Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump is really, really, really good at this kind of thing. Take a look.
Now, I'm told Hillary went to confession,
before tonight's event. But the priest was having a hard time when he asked her about her sins, and she said she couldn't remember 39 times. Nah. Hillary is so corrupt. She got kicked off the Watergate Commission. How corrupt you have to be to get kicked off the Watergate Commission? Pretty corrupt. Hillary is and has been in politics since the 70s. What's her pitch? The economy is busted. The government's corrupt. Washington is failing. Vote for me. I've been working on these problems for 30 years. I can fix it, she says. I wasn't really sure if Hillary was going to be here tonight because I guess you didn't send her invitation by email. Or maybe you did, and she just found out about it through the wonder of WikiLeaks. We've learned so much from WikiLeaks. For example, Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary, you're right. For example, here she is tonight in public, pretending not to hate Catholics. Now, if some of you haven't noticed, Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. And all of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazil.
There's a little bit more, but I just want to jump in here. You see Hillary's face here? That's what Kamala is trying to avoid. This is the big reason why she's not there, because she doesn't want that shot. Because you have to sit there and but see, again, I say this is healthy. This is a healthy thing. And by the way, she gets her chance to go up there and say nasty things about Trump, funny things about Trump. And it's just so great. And you heard, and by the way, there are people in the audience who don't like Trump. He started saying things about Hillary. The people in the crowd start shouting back at him and heckling him. That's good. That's America. This is fun. This is free speech. It's again sends the message to the American people that yes, we feel passionately about what we believe and what we stand for, but at the end of the day, we can take our lumps, we can laugh with each other and move on past the election. But no, Democrats aren't like that anymore. I'll let Trump finish because there's one other reason why Kamala Harris isn't doing this that I want to share with you, but let's watch the end.
Which is, everyone knows, of course, Hillary's belief that it takes a village, which only makes sense, after all, in places like Haiti, where she's taken a number of them.
Look at the face. That's one of those jokes, if you know, you know. But that's rough. I mean, he went hardcore on Hillary, right? And they just, boom. And I just want to reiterate that the Al Smith dinner with the presidential candidates just 2 weeks before the election doing this, it's a good thing. And Kamala Harris has no interest in doing it. She has no interest in doing it because of all the reasons why I just told you. First of all, she's bad at this kind of thing, number one. Number two, I don't think she wants to be associated with anything Catholic, and certainly not seen sitting next to a cardinal whose public position has been to decry, denounce, and actually condemn with an anathema the kind of evil, wicked behavior Kamala Harris and her party stand for right now. Number three, she didn't want to have to endure Trump's barbs and have to have that moment. You know, actually, my favorite shot, I think, was where is it? There it is. Yeah, that's here. This is not Look at her. Look at that face, man. You know what's going on behind those eyes. Can you imagine being Bill Clinton having to face that look for 50 some odd years of your life? Yeah, Kamala did not want to sit there and have to squirm with the cameras on her as Trump roasted her, right? But then there's one other reason. And actually, I think it's the most dangerous reason of all. Again, these are all the reasons why she's snubbing the Catholic Charities, snubbing the Cardinal Dolan in New York, insulting Catholics everywhere, and refusing to send this signal to the American people and around the world that even though we have our differences, we can still have a night together. We can sit together for dinner. There's a lot of reasons why she did this. But the biggest reason of all is because when you appear on a stage in an event like this, sitting one person away from Donald Trump with the Cardinal right there between you and sitting there listening to his jokes and, grinning through it and laughing because you're showing you're a good sport. And then you go up and you deliver your jokes and they can be insults and it's a roast. You do that to your political opponent. You do that to Donald Trump. And then he laughs and he smiles and he grins and bears it because that's what you do, because it's all in good fun and you're all laughing together. When you go through that process, it means that you're treating Donald Trump like a human being. You actually humanize Donald Trump by doing that, by participating in this. You are actually sending the signal to voters, to your base, to Democrats, and to everyone around the world that Donald Trump is actually okay. That he is, in fact, a human being. And that's the last thing she can do. That's the last thing she can afford to do. My friends, for the next 6 weeks, we are going to see the dehumanizing of Donald Trump like we've never seen. Throw J.D. Vance in there, too. They got to destroy him, too. They are going to do whatever they can to give you permission to hate him. See, we Americans, we don't generally hate people. We certainly don't hate people for their politics. We hate their ideas. We hate their policies. We hate the ramifications of those policies and what they do to our country and our economy, et cetera, et cetera. But we don't hate each other. So you got to break through barriers to teach people to hate. You need to give people permission to do something that inherently they don't want to do. And for the next 6 weeks, Kamala Harris and the Democrats and the media and pop culture and late night comedians and the music industry and the movie industry and college professors and academia and all of the levers of power that the political left in this country, aligned with the Democratic Party, control, all they're going to do for the next 6 weeks is systematically attempt to dehumanize Donald Trump so that you feel you have permission to hate that man. Because it's the only campaign tactic they have at this point. They can't tell you how their ideas are better and how their ideas will help our country and fix our economy and make our streets safer and bring down crime and protect our allies overseas and keep our troops out of foreign conflicts. They can't make that case. You know they can't make that case. If they could make that case, that positive case for their policies, I assure you, Kamala Harris would be giving interviews all day long with a very friendly media who would be more than happy to broadcast her message. She doesn't even try to do that because they can't. You know better. On every single important policy that matters most to the American people, Donald Trump is trouncing Kamala Harris. So what do? If you don't have a positive message about what you can do for this country, then the only thing you can do is make your opponent so evil, so odious, so distasteful, so unacceptable that even if people don't like you, even if people are terrified of your policies and what you might do, they're more terrified of what your opponent might do. That's all they've got. That's their strategy at this point. They thought they would be 5 to 10 points ahead right now. And they really aren't. And so this is part of that strategy. If you sit on a stage with Donald Trump in this setting and trade jokes with him, eat a meal with him, pray with him, laugh with him, and God forbid, shake his hand at the end of the night, well, you've undermined all of your efforts to make him a monster. And that, along with all the other reasons I just gave you, is why Kamala Harris is walking down the Walter Mondale path. Now, let's just hope the voters of 2024 walk down that path as well, like they did in 1984. The comparisons of this election to 2016 are incredible, startling, in fact. You've got in Kamala Harris the closest thing that you'll ever find to Hillary Clinton. The only big difference between the two of them is that Kamala Harris hasn't been annoying you for over 30 years. But other than that, this is lining up to look just like 2016. And I bring that up because a moment happened on MSNBC that you have to see, where an ordinary voter made everyone on that network's head explode when she explained exactly why she's voting for Donald Trump.
There's just so many people, and there's just not enough resources. There's not enough jobs. There's not enough homes.
She's glad Trump, who she supports, has been calling attention to Charleroi and Springfield.
People need to know that it's just not Springfield. This is coming to a town near you.
What is coming to a town near you?
Haitians or immigrants that have poured over the border within the last couple of years.
Why is that a bad thing, given the fact that some would say the United States is a nation of immigrants?
They're not coming here to assimilate with us. They're coming here to take over.
All right. Now, as you can well imagine, MSNBC and NBC News writ large have been using voters like that and this woman to paint Trump voters and Trump supporters, and Trump for that matter, as racist and xenophobic because they're anti-immigrant. And you just saw the narrative coming from the network. But we are a nation of immigrants. Why is it a bad thing? Right? This is what they want to do. And again, does it remind you of 2016? Does it remind you, we were told that from the very first press conference Donald Trump delivered at Trump Tower when he announced his candidacy in 2015, that he was dead on arrival, that there was no way he could be president of the United States because he said that he wanted to build a wall on our southern border and that Mexico is not sending us their best and brightest. Remember? It was racist. It was xenophobic. After all, we are a nation of immigrants. And anyone who's supporting Donald Trump is xenophobic, racist, and a basket of deplorables. That was how 2016 played out. And 2024 is playing out almost exactly the same. If anything, we have an even more immediate example of the disastrous border policies to lay out right in front of you. And I want to show you a little bit more here, at least from Donald Trump last night, because he gets it. He sees this pattern too. I mean, here we are 8 years after he last ran for president, and they have given him the border and immigration policy on a silver platter as a topic again, as a policy issue again, and he's running on it. Here he was at the rally yesterday.
Kamala has illegally flown in more than 500,000 migrants right when she was saying, no, we don't want to do that. And she's got, these guys actually want these people in our country. It's not even believable. Working with left-wing nonprofits to inundate Pennsylvania communities, changing the character of small towns and villages all over our country and changing them forever. They will never be the same. They will never be. Do you think Springfield will ever be the same? I don't think. The fact is, and I'll say it now, you have to get them the hell out. You have to get them out. I'm sorry. To get them out. Can't have it. Can't have it. They've destroyed it.
Now, the crowd chanting, send them back, of course, is going to be played on some news outlets, appealing to people who are already ready to vote for Kamala Harris and eager to vote for Kamala Harris, is yet another example as to why all these MAGA people are racist and xenophobic, and they don't understand that we in America need to embrace immigrants because, say it again with me, we are a nation of immigrants. Well, here's what's happening underneath all of this and why this is so similar to 2016. The media living in New York and Washington, D.C., they see this stuff and they immediately knee-jerk ignore the concerns of the people sitting in that arena, ignore the concerns of the people in Springfield, Ohio, right? All they care about are those who have come here illegally or have been given to temporary protective status like the Haitians in Springfield. All they care about is their hurt feelings and their plight, but they don't care about the voters who are actually suffering from these policies. They're completely ignoring it and only giving voice to the college professors who show up on their panel discussions and clutch their pearls and tut-tut about this sort of thing. But that doesn't win an election, right? And the latest Pew Research poll shows that the number one issue facing American voters going into the election in 6 weeks is the economy. Number two, immigration. And I would argue that the economy is directly related to the immigration issue. So really, it's kind of a 1-2 punch there. And I assure you that Kamala Harris is on the wrong side of this issue. In fact, based on the latest poll, the majority of Americans support the idea of deporting people who are in this country illegally. Could we play the video from yesterday of Kamala Harris dancing in the streets of Los Angeles saying, deportation never, no deportation, no deportation? She's on the wrong side of this issue. And as much as the mainstream media tries to paint that woman voter that we just saw as the problem, she's actually speaking for those very voters that the media and Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are not just ignoring, but insulting. And it's playing out exactly like it did 8 years ago. Exactly like it played out 8 years ago. This issue is incredibly real, and it's not just for border states. In fact, the biggest difference between now and 8 years ago is that this probably helped Trump in Arizona. It helped Trump in Florida. It helped Trump in traditional border states that have a large influx of illegal immigration 8 years ago. But thanks to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's brilliant strategy in airlifting illegal immigrants into Ohio, into Pennsylvania, into middle American states, ostensibly, I think, to eventually give them amnesty, give them the vote, and change those states into forever blue states. That's my opinion. Instead, what it's done is make life so miserable for the voters in those states that now Pennsylvania is a border town. Bigly. And so when that happens in Pennsylvania, it resonates. It makes a difference. And Kamala Harris is on the wrong side of this issue. That's why she's announced today that she'll be going to the border. That's right. Kamala Harris is going to the border. In the shadow of an election, she hasn't been there. She stopped once, I think, for half an hour over the course of the last 3.5 years. And now, right before the election, she's going to make some sort of dog and pony show at the border to pretend like she cares about this issue. It's over. It's absolutely over for them. A little bit more of Trump here, and then I'll sum this up about how the President Trump, J.D. Vance, and how you and I should address this immigration issue and the border issue, specifically the illegal immigration issue, going forward, because we need to be able to communicate on this issue effectively. And there's a way to do it. We're going to get to that in a second. Here's more Trump at that rally.
Migration policy can change it very quickly, and it can destroy everything in its way, just like we've seen in London and Paris and Minneapolis. Look at what's happened in London. Look what's happening in Paris. If Kamala Harris wins this election, she will flood Pennsylvania cities and towns with illegal migrants from all over the world. And Pennsylvania will never be the same. You will never be the same. When I'm president, all migrant flights to Pennsylvania will stop immediately. By the way, all migrant flights. Not only to Pennsylvania, everywhere. No, but how about they get caught? You know, we just found that out a few months ago. They're saying, no, we're fighting. In the meantime, people are just pouring in. No, we want to do it. And then we learned that the airplanes are flying. That means that, you know, it's just a big con job. Remember this. For a long time, she's been talking about her experience at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's over the French fries. It was so hot. I think I'm going to go to a McDonald's next week someplace. I'm going to go. Might not be in your place. I'm going to go to a McDonald's, and I'm going to work the French fry job for about a half an hour. I want to see how it is. But she said she worked and she grew up in terrible conditions. She worked at McDonald's. It was such. She never worked there. And these fake news reporters will never report it. They don't want to report it because they're fake. They're fake. They don't want to report it. She never worked at McDonald's, but it was a big part of her resume. They went to the different places. Did she work here? Did she work here? Did she work here? She said, we don't know who the hell she is. Leave us alone. We're making hamburgers. We will end the invasion of small town Pennsylvania, and we will end the destruction of America. It's destroying our country. But reckless.
Right. And again, that will be clipped as another example of basket of deplorables. And they'll use that. They will. And they'll continue to say that Trump is a xenophobe and Trump is Hitler and Trump hates immigrants. And how did that work out 8 years ago? How did that work out 8 years ago when we didn't even have the level of crisis that we have right now? But this is what they'll do. They can't help themselves. And in so doing, they will ignore the voters, the actual voters, who are going to vote on this issue. Number two, behind the economy right now. Voters like this man at that very same rally. A trucker in central Pennsylvania, where this race will be won, talking specifically about what's going on in his life and in his community because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's neglect of basic national security and border principles.
My name's Ernie. I'm here as a representative resident of the small town of Charleroi, PA, which you may have heard on the news here recently. Over half of our town is now filled with Haitian immigrants and illegal immigrants brought into taking our jobs away. That there is a nation-killing practice, which is brought in by the federal government and specifically the Biden-Harris administration. And I'm here with a dire warning to every American. This isn't going to stop unless we can take our country back. Under the Biden-Harris administration, 9.9 million immigrants have made it across the border since they have taken office. There is no pushback from the administration to close or seal the border, which is now affecting small town America in my hometown of Charleroi, PA. And the biggest thing, and it's tattooed right here on my arm, we the people run this country. And we have to remember and tell the Democrats and Kamala Harris that we run this country and take it back and make America great again. Thank you.
Have you seen a Kamala Harris rally recently or Tim Walz rally? Very different vibe. Very rarely do you see a voter up on the podium like that, just a regular Joe or Jane for that matter. And you certainly don't see that kind of message in any way whatsoever about the voters and the concern. The entire way the media and the Democrats are reacting to this issue right now is to pour out sympathy for the people who have actually come into this country illegally, that they're afraid that they're being put upon. That's the entire focus. But I want to go back to that first clip that we watched when the reporter pushes back on the woman. Yeah, it is an amazing moment, actually. In fact, I guess we should watch it again because I want to use this as sort of a quick jumping off point for my final thoughts here. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just get
enough resources. There's not enough jobs. There's not enough homes.
She's glad Trump, who she supports, has been calling attention to Charleroi and Springfield.
People need to know that it's just not Springfield. This is coming to a town near you.
What is coming to a town near you?
Haitians or immigrants that have poured over the border within the last couple of years.
Why is that a bad thing, given the fact that some would say the United States is a nation of immigrants?
Okay, there we go. That's all you need to see, because that's what you'll hear. I mean, we heard it during the entire Trump presidency, right? From Jim Acosta. What about the poem on the base of the Statue of Liberty? You can't limit immigration. It says, give us your tired, your bored. You know, that's not a law. That's not actually a policy. That's not even a founding document. It's a frickin' poem that was engraved on a statue, dude. I don't think the presidency and the Congress are beholden to what some poet wrote in the late 19th century and had engraved on the base of a statue as in some way some rock solid policy that we must all adhere to. But that's what you'll see. First of all, on the facts, objectively speaking, this woman is correct. And it's telling, by the way, when Yamich Alcindor, a Haitian-American reporter, by the way, it's shocking how NBC sent her out to cover this story, isn't it? Not that she has any vested interest, totally impartial and unbiased reporting there. When the voter says this is coming to a town near you, it's coming to your town, Yamich Alcindor says, what's coming? And the voter says Haitians or any other immigrant group, they're going to be airlifted from the border after they enter this country, and they're going to be placed in your town, and you're going to have to deal with it. And Yamich Alcindor did not say, well, there's no evidence of that. What makes you say that? Has Kamala Harris said she's going to do that? Why would you have said that's I mean, do you have anything to back that up? Do you have any evidence? Did you notice that she didn't push back on any of that notion? She didn't challenge whether it was going to be coming to a town near you or to your small town. She did not, did she? Her response was, well, why is that a bad thing? After all, we're a nation of immigrants. And that right there, my friends, is the secret sauce that all of us have to understand, ingest, digest, and be ready for as we have this conversation over the course of the next 6 weeks. And should Donald Trump win, then through the course of his presidency, as he implements these policies to reverse the nightmare that Biden-Harris has created here. You see too often the discussion of immigration policy and border security is framed by the left. See, the discussion is always framed from the perspective of those who want unmitigated, complete and total open borders and unlimited immigration. They're the ones who always get to frame the argument. And they'll always frame it like that. Why is this a bad thing? We're a nation of immigrants. And of course, here's how we respond. First of all, don't let them get away with that. You need to challenge certain premises that they bring up and just assume everybody agrees with, or just want to presume into the conversation without actually having to defend their position. So you begin this way. We're a nation of immigrants, and that's true. But as a nation of immigrants, we have always controlled immigration, regulated immigration. You believe in government regulation, don't you? Do you believe that the government has the right to regulate immigration, or should we just let everybody from around the world in? Now, listen, if they say, oh, no, we shouldn't have any controls and anyone from the world should be able to come here and stay here, honestly, there's no conversation with that person at this point. Now, in the media, I doubt that any reporter would actually make that case. Maybe Jim Acosta and Yamich Alcindor. But for the most part, they say, well, of course, we all recognize that the government has a right to control the borders. They have a right to regulate immigration. And that's the first part of actually having a real conversation about this. Oh, okay. Well, good, because I agree that we should have immigration in this country. And I also agree that our government not only has the right to regulate and control immigration, they have a duty to do that, right? Because let's just be clear here. You say we're a nation of immigrants, and I'm sure you're pointing to the Statue of Liberty in the late 19th century when we had an increase in the manufacturing economy in our country, in the industrial age, and we needed more workers from Europe, cheap labor. And I understand you're a big fan of cheap labor, especially if it's people from foreign countries with dark skin. Okay, fine. I understand where you stand on this. I don't 100% agree, but yes, it is in our past that we were bringing in a bunch of foreigners from other countries countries with broken economies, letting them in here, but only under the condition that they take a lot of tough jobs in sweatshops for no money at all, basically, so that the white people in this country at the top of the pyramid could thrive. I understand that's your position. But even then, in the industrial age, at the turn of the century, when we had a hell of a lot of immigration in this country, mostly from European nations, even then we regulated it. When people came in on ships past that statue that said, bring me your poor, your tired, and your huddled masses, they didn't go right into Manhattan and just flood into the city and find jobs. No, they had to make a stop at Ellis Island. Ever done the Ellis Island tour? Have you seen the cells that they were held in while they got their shots and made sure they didn't have tuberculosis? Did you ever see the documents they had to sign that promised they had a sponsor in this country so that they wouldn't be a burden to the state? Did you see the paperwork they had to fill out to promise that they wouldn't rely on the federal government to give them housing or an education or food or a roof over their head? Did you ever see that? Because when you say we're a nation of immigrants, that's how immigration policy works and has worked. So sure, I'll accept your premise. We're a nation of immigrants. Why is it a bad thing to have immigrants in your community? And I'll say, you know what? You have a point. Tell me, how many is enough? I've got a better question for you, Yamich. How many is too many? How many immigrants to this country on a daily, weekly, monthly, annual basis is too many? Because if you believe the government has a right and obligation to control our borders and regulate immigration so that it's done safely, fairly, judiciously, and in an organized fashion, then you have to step up and say, this is the limit. This is the number. This is too many. Are you willing to do that? And until you are, you're not serious about this issue. This is not a moral issue. They want to make this a moral issue. They want to make this an issue of your morality or lack thereof. If you dare to step up and say, not every human being on this planet has a God-given right to be an American. And if you dare to say that obvious logical truth, they want to question your morality. They want to make you a monster. Don't give them that chance. All you need to do is articulate the obvious logical truth. There has to be a limit. What's the limit? And how do you control that limit if you literally let anyone in through the border as we have for the last 3.5 years? That moment in that interview, when Yamich Alcindor says, why is that a bad thing? After all, we're a nation of immigrants. That's the tell. That explains it all. And that's what they're doing. And that's what they're going to try to do. The good news is, like 8 years ago, Donald Trump is fearless on this issue. He knows he's right. He knows it can be fixed. He knows it could be controlled. And he doesn't care what they call him. They did this 8 years ago. And he won. Bigly. In Pennsylvania yesterday, there was also a pretty heartwarming campaign appearance from Donald Trump at a grocery store. I don't know if you saw this or not, but this is Trump at his Trumpiest, at his best Trumpiest, in fact. There's nothing more Donald Trump than going in a grocery store, seeing a mother of three having to pay a grocery bill at the cash register, and then reaching into your billionaire apprentice pocket and pulling out a Benjamin for that lady. Take a look.
Here, it's going to go down a little bit. It just went down $100.
Thank you so much.
We'll do that for you from the White House, all right?
Thank you.
All right, bye. Nice seeing you, everybody.
God bless you.
Beautiful. They're your kids?
Yeah, they are. 3 boys.
Perfecto. Perfecto. 3 for 3. Bye, everybody.
All right. Now, obviously, that's great politics. And this is the kind of thing that Kamala Harris can't do, right? We'll show you her attempt to do something like this in a minute. This is Trump being Trump. Even when he's not likable, he's likable. You got to like Donald Trump when he can do this sort of thing. He's great with people. He's great with retail politics. And, well, you know, he's obviously a gajillionaire. He's known for being wealthy. The first time we ever knew Donald Trump's name, we knew him as a huge, wealthy real estate developer, and it just grew from there, right? So the fact that he can reach into a pocket, pull out $100 and say, here, let me help you with your grocery bill, that's awesome. But he also turned it into a political statement when he said, pretty soon I'll be able to help you out like this from the White House. In other words, I'll help you with $100 today, but if you put me in office, you won't need my $100 because we're going to fix inflation and we'll bring down these prices, which is even better than getting a handout. That's great stuff. And it brings a smile to your face. And like I said, it's not the kind of thing that Kamala Harris can even come close to doing. If she tried to do it, she'd be the phony that she is. So it's wonderful. And you know how I know it's wonderful? Not only is it wonderful, by the way, but it's incredibly effective. And it makes a difference in a very close campaign when that kind of moment can go viral. When they see Donald Trump being a good guy and sending a political message that life sucks right now at the grocery store checkout, and it's because of Kamala Harris. You know how I know it's effective? You know how I know it's working? You know how I know this was a great move from Trump? Because liberals are going out of their mind about it. Take a look at this. Kai Risdale, who is a veteran. He's like one of those influencer people on X that speak out about their left-wing politics and get people's attentions and a whole bunch of followers. He retweeted that video and said, I'm reasonably sure that this is a federal crime. I'm reasonably sure that this is a federal crime. I want you to attempt to put yourself in the mindset where you see a struggling mother of 3 having to pay an enormous grocery bill, and a rich dude gives her $100 to help pay for the bill. And when you see that, because you hate Donald Trump and conservatives and Republicans so much, the only thing you can see is a federal crime. How dare you help that woman? You're going to jail. That's how warped they are. That's how lost they are. Chris Evans, not that Chris Evans, but another liberal left-wing, and as you can see from the rainbow flag, a influencer of sorts on social media, extrapolated on the federal crime here. It is illegal for a presidential candidate or any candidate to hand out cash to voters in the U.S. Offering money or any form of valuable consideration in exchange for a vote is considered bribery and violates federal election laws. By the way, you know they're full of it because nowhere in that clip did Donald Trump say, if you vote for me, I'll give you $100. So it's just ridiculous. But let's continue to dwell in the TDS fever swamp, shall we? Because it's so much fun. The Federal Election Campaign Act and related laws prohibit this type of conduct to ensure elections are free and fair. Both the person offering the bribe and the person receiving it could face legal consequences. Love to find out about the payments and handouts for the people who attended that Oprah Winfrey town hall the other day on behalf of Kamala Harris, but I digress. How hateful do you have to be to see this heartwarming, funny moment in a grocery store and immediately think, that's it, we got to arrest Donald Trump again? In fact, by the way, guys, do that. Do it. Arrest him for this. Merrick Garland, send your goons. Alvin Bragg, where did this take place? In Pennsylvania? Josh Shapiro, I think you need to get the Pennsylvania State Police on this. In fact, I demand it. I demand that the Democrat governor of Pennsylvania mobilize the Democrat Attorney General of Pennsylvania, and I want you to perp walk Donald Trump for breaking the law. Do it. Arrest Trump for giving $100 to a struggling mother of 3 boys trying to buy groceries. Do it. Put your money where your mouth is, you frauds. Arrest Trump or shut the up. It was another moment in the grocery store, by the way, that's even more compelling, where a regular Joe in Pennsylvania explained exactly how hard things are.
Best crew in the world.
So how do you do against the big stores? How do you do?
You know, I'm very proud because every year we've been up, except for the last 3 years because of this inflation. Yeah. It's exactly what you said. The prices are up, but our sales are down. So we've had to get super creative in how we use our space to try to.
Prices go up and yet your sales are down.
Yeah. So
All right, this is really important. We're going to let him finish in a second here, but understand what's going on here. This is the owner of this grocery store, family business, trying to talk to Trump about, how a family business, a grocery store, stays competitive against the big corporations and against the big corporate stores. And you just heard that. See, it's been great until the last 3 years. Now we got to get really creative because prices have gone up, but our profits go down. Now, this is completely antithetical to what Kamala Harris says all the time. When you ask Kamala Harris, what are you going to do about inflation and about high prices? What's her answer? Always, oh, well, we're going to stop the price gouging from the greedy business owners, which, by the way, there's no evidence of any price gouging anywhere. Because guess what? Price gouging is against the law right now. So why are you waiting to win the election? Why not do it now? If Kroger or Giant or any of these big grocery stores, Walmart, Costco, if they're price gouging, do something about it. But that's her only answer because she tries to divide us through class warfare. Oh, it's the greedy business owners. Okay, well, that guy right there is your greedy business owner. And he's laying it out to Donald Trump in front of the camera right now. Yeah, prices have gone up, but our profits have gone down. Everybody thinks because prices are going up that these grocery store owners are making a ton of money. Hell no. And Kamala Harris continues to lie about this to divide us because that's all they've got is to get us angry at each other. You're upset about your grocery store bill? Don't blame the government for rising prices. No, don't blame the government for inflation. Blame this guy, this poor guy who's trying to struggle to keep his business owner open and keep all these people employed. It's typical left-wing politics. We've seen it for the last 150 years. I'll start this from the beginning again because I want you to see the whole thing.
Best crew in the world.
So how do you do against the big stores? How do you do?
I'm very proud because every year we've been up, except for the last 3 years because of this inflation. Yeah. It's exactly what you said. The prices are up, but our sales are down. So we've had to get super creative in how we use our space to try to.
Prices go up and yet your sales are down.
Yeah. So it's been brutal just to try to. Thankfully, I have a great crew, a great staff. My family. We work
How long
together.
has this been open?
We've been in business 25 years.
Wow.
We bought it. This store where you're standing there has been a grocery store since 1929.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's beautiful.
So that's important. The content of it is important. How relevant it is to the economy and inflation and real American voters' struggles every single day and week and month. It's incredibly important. But even more so, it's important because here's Donald Trump in his element. Here's Donald Trump, a businessman, talking business to a small business owner, trying to understand his struggles, trying to understand his business, very different than real estate and hotel management and media, which has been Donald Trump's wheelhouse. It's caught on camera. It's natural. It's real. It's normal. He's not the monster that they portray him to be. He's relatable and he's relating well to this guy and this guy is relating to him. Think about that, standing there talking about your business to not only a former president of the United States, but the current candidate for president of the United States. And by the way, reality TV star and ultra famous real estate mogul for the last 40 years in American pop culture. And you can just have a normal, easy conversation with the dude. I mean, that again also makes Trump accessible and very real. I tell you all of this because Kamala Harris last month attempted to go into a convenience store in Pennsylvania as well. This is a very good apples to apples comparison. When Kamala Harris walked into a Sheetz, I believe it was, looking for Doritos with her husband, Doug. I want you to watch this video and compare it to what you saw with Donald Trump relating to the business owner. And notice a couple of things. I'll lay it out here quickly. I think they may have cleared the store from civilians and normal people. If there are a couple of stragglers that they let in there for the cameras to see, notice that she doesn't actually even attempt to talk to any of them. She's only relating to her husband and Tim Walz, and even that is cringe and phony and awkward and completely disingenuous. Just watch.
Oh, Dougie, there they are. Yeah. Thank you.
I know you want those. What do you get?
All those people in the background are not people who are also looking for a big gulp or Doritos. No, they're Secret Service. They're there to protect her and buffer her from, the rabble. the masses, the crowds. You know how Kamala Harris always, whenever anybody asks her a question, oh, yes, I hear this all the time on the campaign trail. From whom? She's never relates or interacts with any voters. She doesn't hear this from anybody. Now, look at Kamala Harris's body language, awkwardness, behavior, the play acting. Oh, I'm looking for my Doritos because the cameras are rolling and I want to be on the nightly news, acting like a very natural and normal human being. Oh, there's my burritos. Thank you for my Doritos. Look at me being natural and holding my Doritos with two hands like a normal, natural person does. Compare that to Donald Trump yesterday walking into a grocery store and getting crunchy, salty snacks of his own.
Oh, look, I got to get some. Oh. Look at that stuff. I want. Just have it. We got to get it.
My mom just got a bag of that, actually.
Good. Is it good stuff? Good?
She says it's the best.
Is that the best?
She says it's the
if
best.
If it is, I'll be in Washington, D.C., hopefully in the Oval Office. I'll send for popcorn. Okay?
Appreciate that.
It's a hell of a side-by-side between these two candidates, isn't it? Listen, this is going to be close, and we're coming right down to the final weeks here. I keep saying it. I'll say it again. 6 weeks from the actual election day. But, of course, in many states, voting has already begun and will continue to begin for early voting between now and then. We're in it now. We're in the thick of it. And days like this in Pennsylvania, when Trump can be Trump and talk about the issues that matter most, in this case, immigration, border security, cost of living, inflation, how business owners are struggling, how families are struggling, and the only response you get from Democrat activists is, that's a federal crime giving $100 to a person who needs help paying her grocery bills. Lock him up. Lock him up. It's days like this where you feel, you know what? We are winning. We are winning this thing. But God forbid we act like it. Every single one of us, from the everyday voter all the way up to the candidate, need to work hard every single day between now and election day and even beyond, and act like you're 20 points down and you got to catch up. That's what it's going to take. But you got to be hopeful. You got to be positive. And you got to recognize that ultimately we're on the right side of this thing and we're going to win. That is it for today. Thanks so much for watching. I had a blast. I hope you did too. If you liked what you saw, please, why don't you tell the world with the thumbs up and subscribe? Also, check out our websites, townhall.com, hotair.com, redstate.com, pjmedia.com, twitchy.com, and bearing arms, say it with me.com. I think you'll like it. And sign up for all of our social media platforms as well, so you don't miss a damn thing. Thanks for doing your part. We're going to continue doing our part. We'll see you tomorrow. My name is Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.